I am the Lord your God. You shall not have strange gods before me. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember to keep holy the Lord's day. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not covet your neighbor's goods. Those are the 10 commandments. When I say the 10 commandments, do you think of, I don't know, maybe Charlton Heston coming down from high the top of the mountain, carrying the tablets and stone of the 10 commandments? Is that the image of the 10 commandments you think of? Because the 10 commandments, as I just read them to you, those will be posted in every public school in the state of Texas beginning in September, assuming the Texas Senate approves it, which it will, and the Texas Governor Greg Abbott will approve it, which he will. Outrageous? Yes. Why do we talk about it? Because once again, the Republicans haven't figured out that there's this thing called the separation of church and state. It's called the freaking Constitution, guys. You cannot violate the United States Constitution. I don't know how many times I have to tell the Republicans this. So Texas, which by the way, as you all know, I'm based in Florida, and Florida likes to tell Texas every once in a while, hold my beer, but Texas kind of has the gold star when it comes to doing crazy shit. In Texas, over the weekend, the irony of which did not escape one of my favorite people, Texas State Representative James Tallarico. Listen to what he had to say about when the vote took place for this Texas state bill, Senate Bill 10. Take a listen to Texas State Rep Tallarico.
What is the fourth commandment?
Keep the Sabbath.
Part of keeping the Sabbath holy is not working on the Sabbath.
That is, yeah.
What day is the Jewish Sabbath?
It is on Saturday.
And what day is it today?
It is Saturday. Here we are.
The Christian Sabbath is what day?
Sunday, in honor of the day that Jesus rose from the dead.
And we're scheduled to give this bill a final vote on what day of the week?
It's ironic, isn't it?
Would you be willing to postpone your bill so that we're not breaking the 10 commandments by working on the Jewish or Christian Sabbath?
I love that you said that, because
you're saying that you'd rather tell people to follow the 10 commandments than follow it yourself?
I would have rather have had this bill passed the other day when it was time.
We as a legislature are about to force every teacher in the state to post the 10 commandments in their classrooms.
If
Do
they are
members
donated.
of the Texas legislature follow the 10 commandments?
So again, this bill is about honoring our historical, educational, and judicial heritage with the displaying of the 10 commandments.
The 9th commandment is thou shalt not bear false witness. Are you aware of any legislators who have lied about anything?
That is, you know, there might be one coming up in a minute if you keep talking. We'll see.
The 7th commandment is thou shalt not commit adultery.
Yes.
Do you think that members of the legislature should focus more on trying to follow the 10 commandments rather than telling others to follow them?
Maybe they could have them posted.
I am, you know, it is incumbent on all of us to follow God's law.
I mean, the irony abounds, doesn't it? So, over the weekend, the Texas State House of Representatives approved in a preliminary vote on Saturday, the Jewish Sabbath, by the way, against the 10 commandments, I just want to say. In a vote 88-49, the bill preliminarily passed the Texas State House. And then on Sunday, which is, I don't know, the day of worship for Christians, once again violating the 10 commandments, the House passed the bill 82-46, but the clarification that happened, and the reason why you had the votes on 2 days, is on Sunday, the clarification was that the state of Texas would be responsible for any legal fees if a school district were to be sued over this policy. The policy of making sure that every public school classroom in Texas is required to display the 10 commandments. And I don't know, if you're living in Texas, folks, do you want to be responsible for your taxpayer dollars to have to defend a lawsuit when it could easily be avoided if people actually listen to the United States Constitution? The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution says the following. You ready? Very clear. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. In other words, government cannot favor one religion after another. If you put up the 10 Commandments, as a lot of people have asked, are you going to put it up for all the other religions? Are you going to put up other type of commandments or rules from other religions? Sounds like no. So it sounds like you're picking Christianity. At least the Texas Republicans are doing it, right? They're picking Christianity over other religions. Let's talk about Senate Bill 10. What does it do? Well, it was sponsored by Senator Phil King, a Republican from Weatherford, and it was carried by Republican Candy Noble, a Republican from Lucas, Texas. Both white folks over there. Now, the bill says the following. You have to display the 10 Commandments this exact way. Ready? It has to be done in a 16 by 20 inch poster or framed copy of the specific English version of the commandments. So it's not going to be in a foreign language. Even though translations and interpretations vary across denominations, faiths, and languages and may differ in homes and houses of worship. They don't care. They want their white Christian nationalist agenda to be advanced in Senate Bill 10. Now, the Senate passed a similar bill 20-11 in March, and then Governor Greg Abbott is so freaking excited about this, he's going to lose his freaking mind. So, why are we talking about this? Well, one, it is unbelievably offensive to require this to be posted in public schools. It's a public school. What if I don't want my kid to have religion forced down their throat? Well, according to Texas, that's what's going to happen. Here's the other outrageous thing. The United States Supreme Court in 1980 in Stone versus Graham addressed this exact freaking issue, people. In the state of Kentucky, the United States Supreme Court said in a 5-4 decision, per curiam no less, that a Kentucky law that required the 10 Commandments to be posted in the classrooms of the public schools, that it, quote, violated the Establishment Clause of the Constitution. The Supreme Court found that the requirement that the 10 Commandments be posted, quote, had no secular legislative purpose and was, quote, plainly religious in nature. You cannot do this. This is unconstitutional. A similar law in Louisiana was recently struck down by a federal court, and so in Louisiana, that law has been put on hold. According to State Representative James Tallarico, and I'm going to play a really good clip from him again right now because he is just fighting that fight on this Texas state floor, and you got to listen to what he has to say. But in this clip, you're going to hear James Tallarico say why this bill is just wrong on so many fundamental Christian value levels. If you're a true Christian, this is why this bill is so wrong. Take a listen to Representative Tallarico.
And I say this to you as a fellow Christian. Representative Noble, I know you're a devout Christian, and so am I. This bill, to me, is not only unconstitutional, it's not only un-American, I think it is also deeply unchristian. And I say that because I believe this bill is idolatrous, I believe it is exclusionary, and I believe it is arrogant. And those three things, in my reading of the gospel, are diametrically opposed to the teachings of Jesus. You probably know Matthew 6:5, when Jesus says, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners. When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. A religion that has to force people to put up a poster to prove its legitimacy is a dead religion. And it's not one that I want to be a part of. It's not one that I think I am a part of.
Can we take a second, though, to talk about the hypocrisy of the Texas state Republicans? And by the way, it's not just limited to the Texas state Republicans when it comes to being hypocritical. But think about this for a second. You think that they all live their lives with adherence to the 10 Commandments? I can tell you this. I would hazard the guess that the majority of them do not. And what's really offensive about this is it shows such a lack of respect for the autonomy for families to decide how they want their kids to be raised when it comes in the framing of religion. Some people don't want their kids raised with organized religion. Some people do. But why steal that option from them by forcing kids who are young and impressionable and easily influenced when they're those ages. Why force them to have to stare at a poster that is displayed prominently on the wall in their classrooms? You're devaluing other religions. You are discounting and discrediting the ability of parents to be able to have the independence from the influence of religion. It's called the separation of church and state for a reason. It is completely being infringed upon, that constitutional right to have those things live separately, when you make it a law. When the government forces something to happen, it infringes on your constitutional right. The number of lawsuits that are going to come from this are going to be legion, people. There are going to be so many, and rightfully so. But it is ragingly hypocritical if people are not going to abide by these 10 commandments, for them to stand up and preach in your face about how you should be living your life and how your kids should be living their lives. There is nothing wrong with the basic precepts of the 10 commandments: to honor your father and mother, to not kill, to not do bad things. But you know what? Let me as a parent decide how that's going to happen in terms of how I teach my child. And more importantly, do not force it down their throats when they're children, when they are in classrooms, because you are taking an idea that's supposed to be separate and apart from a public school classroom, and you are making it a fully indoctrinated part of my kid's day. And that is wrong. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said that the passage of this 10 Commandments bill was a priority this session for him because, quote, by placing the 10 Commandments in our public school classrooms, we ensure our students receive the same foundational moral compass as our state and country's forefathers. Okay. Now, they're also in Texas, they've done the following. Texas state lawmakers have also passed and sent to the governor a measure that allows school districts to provide students and staff a daily voluntary period of prayer or time to read a religious text during school hours. Republican State Representative Brent Money said, quote, we should be encouraging our students to read and study their Bible every day. Our kids in our public schools need prayer, need Bible reading more now than they ever have. Look, you want to know what the kids in Texas need? How about common sense gun legislation, gun safety legislation? The most recent data from Texas on gun violence is the following. 4,630 gun deaths in Texas from 2022. Of that, 296 children and teens ages 1 through 17. On average, in the state of Texas, one person is killed every 2 hours. Firearms were the leading cause of death among children and teens ages 1 through 17 in the year 2022. This is the most recent data we have from the Centers for Disease Control. Footnote, which we're not probably going to be getting anymore, courtesy of the Trump administration destroying funding to the CDC and not allowing them to speak to the American public. We don't need the 10 Commandments in the schools, people, in Texas. They need common sense gun safety legislation so the kids can live. Who cares if the kids know about thou shalt not commit adultery if they're dead? If my kid in Texas goes to public school and they can't come home alive, I don't give a shit about the 10 Commandments being posted on the wall. This is not an indictment of religion, people. Okay? I am a Christian, but being a Christian means something more than the hypocrisy of being what I call Sunday Christians. People that just go to church on Sundays and they look like they're all holier than thou, but in the reality, they're cheating on their taxes. They're cheating on their spouses. They're beating their dogs. They're cruel to people that are LGBTQ+. That's not a real Christian. That's not somebody who really is following the teachings of Christ. This absurdity is going to waste time and money in Texas. It's going to waste so much energy when it is on its face plainly unconstitutional. But you know what? The Texas Republicans, they don't care. They don't care because they are emboldened nationwide by the absurdity of white Christian nationalist moves like this. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability, and thank people like State Representative James Tallarico for the work that he is doing. God bless him. Katie Phang here. The truth matters now more than ever. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.